Hi, in this video, I'm going to introduce you to Oddity Labs, which is an online beauty retailer. So the core business for Oddity Labs, this is basically an online first or online only retailer, which operates with two brands, Il Makiage and Spoiled Child. Il Makiage being the more mature, older brand, and Spoiled Child is a newer brand. Il Makiage, which is more focused towards beauty, their segments are color cosmetics and skin. And skin now makes up roughly 25% of their business. It only started a couple of years ago. Some of the products, some of the best-selling products within the Il Makiage brands are the foundation, blush, primer, anti-aging cream, things like that they sell on their website, mostly related to beautification of women. The Spoiled Child, which is more positioned as a wellness brand for hair and skin. So both of these brands are mostly, targeted at women. Spoiled Child was launched in 2022, and some of their bestseller products are liquid collagen, which is basically consumed orally and helps to beautify your skin, and then the hair growth serum. Um, the large majority, and just like I mentioned, large majority of their revenue is being contributed by Il Makiage, roughly maybe over 80%, I'd say. And then they have Brand 3, which is still in the works. It will be launched in the second half of 2025. That's what the plan is. And this is basically an online pharmacy for skin conditions where Oddity Labs plans to use, machine vision and machine learning to be able to diagnose skin conditions like acne, eczema, and hair-related problems. They plan to do that through the camera of the phone. So they want to do hyperspectral images, analyze these images, and be able to diagnose the exact problem with the skin and match their users with the brand. They have been developing the vision systems for this for over 2 years now, and they plan to launch in the second half of 2025. They haven't given it a name, they call it Brand 3, but this is what basically both prescription products and over-the-counter products they plan to kind of give to the users through this Brand 3. Brand 4 is another brand they plan to launch it around that same time frame, second half of 2025, but they haven't really given any details about this. And then there is Oddity Labs, basically their research labs where they have two branches of research. One is within the computer vision. As I said, one use of that is to diagnose skin conditions. The other use is, for instance, to match their foundations that they sell through Il Makiage to the right kind of skin tone. So they match the skin tone of the buyer who takes a quiz online with the right kind of shade of foundation that they should wear for the best results. And so that's these are some of the uses of the vision that they are making in their products. And then there is molecule discovery to find more kind of effective formulas and ingredients to improve the efficacy of their product. So these are the two kind of branches into which they're investing. And Oddity Labs, they're investing quite aggressively within that venture so that they can, come up with more and better and more defensible products. Talking about segments, so 94% of this. So this is, as I said, mostly, purely online brand. You don't use the traditional methods of distribution like retail and like having distributors and kind of is putting their products in Ulta and other Sephora and other beauty channels. They sell purely first party online. And so 94% of the revenue comes purely from the, sales that they make on their website and their apps. And 6% is from physical stores in Israel. And so this is basically the company was born in Israel. It has a history that we'll talk a little bit about. But yeah, they have physical presence in Israel. They make 6% of revenue from there. In terms of geography, most of the revenue comes from the US, more than 80%, and 19% is international. They have also presence in countries like Germany, UK, and so forth. So how's the structure of the ownership of this business? This is a founder-led company. Oran Holzman is the founder, and he owns 33% financial interest in terms of the financial stake within the company. And then there is Class A and Class B share, and Class B share gives you a lot of voting power. As you see in most of the tech companies, they have a different class of share which gives you a ton of voting power and say on how the company should be run. So he owns, I think, almost all the Class B voting shares. So he has 76% voting power. So this is a founder-led and actually a founder-controlled company. The other significant owner within the executive team is the CFO who owns 1.6%. But as you can see, largely the founder owns most of the company. And the CFO owns 1.6%. These are the two people who own more than 1%. And then there are the pre-IPO investors. The investment arm of LMVH owns 29%, and Billy Gifford, which is a Scotland-based fund, owns 13%. Both of these are pre-IPO investors, own 29 and 13%. The company went public in July 2023. They raised $430 million roughly, and 60 million was actually raised by the company, but a large chunk of that was actually an exit to the founder, not a complete exit. I mean, probably he owned roughly 50% before the IPO, but the IPO, he sold a chunk of his shares, but still he is a significant owner, roughly 33%. And he is now has basically he took $200 million from the table in the IPO, and the other investor who sold some shares is the LMVH, L Capital, which is the branch of LMVH. So the pre-IPO investor sold some share. So out of 430 million, only 60 million actually went to the company. And so if you want to look at that cap table, how it looks like today, this is what it roughly looks like, 29% and 13% owned by pre-IPO investors. Then Plaza voting shares, 15% owned by the founder, and 100% of Class B shares. So classes are common shares, just you have a financial interest in Class B as the voting shares. He owns 100% and therefore has a 76% voting power. Let's dig into a little bit into the history of the company. So Holtzman actually acquired El Maquillage, which is a New York based brand, founded in mid 1970s, and then he bought it for $11 million. At that time, it was $45 million in debt. He acquired this brand and he took it to Israel, and then he kind of grew it there. Then in 2017, LMVH's, the investment arm, they made a $29 million investment. This was their second investment in this company. I think they did another round before this, somewhere between 2013 and 2017. They did I think 15 million. But anyway, so this was they took a sizable chunk of the company at 35-36% for $29 million in 2017, and then in 2018 the company actually came to the US. So from 2013 to 2018, they were largely operating in Israel, I believe. They had physical stores, and they also have like these colleges or these educational institutions where makeup professionals can go to study, right? And then in 2018, they launched their brand online in the US, Il Maquillage, so that's why they entered into the US, and they have grown very, very rapidly since then. From end of 2018, when the revenue was 25 million, to end of 2023, when it was 50 million, 500 million. So it was basically a 20x jump. So you can say that, Il Maquillage, its re-entry into the US after 5 years was pretty successful under the leadership of Oren Holtzman. And yeah, as I said, company went public in July 2023. Their strategy has been, you know, it's an acquisitive company. Their strategy, acquisition is a central part of how they grow, how they bring in-house new technologies, new talent. In fact, you can see in the roots of the company, Maquillage itself was acquired and not, kind of built from scratch. So it was acquired, and then the company has made a number of acquisitions in the tech space. Voyage 81, which is basically the startup which was building this technology to kind of do hyperspectral imaging using the mobile camera, so they can see different wavelengths and different kind of colors within the image, so they can diagnose skin diseases, right? So that was by Voyage 81, and NeoWise was building machine learning algorithms to improve e-commerce conversions and so on. And then Revela, which is acquired for roughly 100 million, was a molecule discovery space, which was basically discovering molecules that can be used in hair and skincare products. So all of these things that are, now part of Oddity Labs, you can see they are acquiring the talent, acquiring the technology, and kind of putting that or bringing that into Oddity and then trying to grow it from there. So the company is fairly acquisitive. So that's, you can say that it's a part of the growth algorithm. Um, let's look at how the management compensates itself. So CEOs and other executives, if you look at the 2023 20th filing, all of them in fixed and base salary received less than $1 million in fixed compensation, in pure compensation. And then the largely so first of all, post IPO, generally there are large kind of payouts in terms of equity grants, like that generally happens in many companies. But anyways, looking specifically at this company, in 2023, they gave about 4 million stock options to allow their executives, or the people who got these options, to buy the shares at $27.74 at a weighted average price. The stock's listing price in 2023, July 2023, was $35, right? So basically, these executives have the option to acquire shares at $27.74 for the next 5 to 6 years. That's basically from the grant of these options in 2023, and the kind of the vesting of these options, or the right to exercise of these options, gets unlocked on two things. One is the service period, which is they have to be with the company. The options will get unlocked or vested over 3 years, and over 3 years from the date of the grant. And then the second hurdle is the price hurdle of the stock. So basically, they will get unlocked within the 2 to 5x range of the listing price, which is $70 to $350. So as the stock climbs between this range, their options will get unlocked incrementally, and they can then cash their options, at kind of buying that at a lower price and then selling at a higher price, or something like that. So they can basically exercise those options within that price band of $70 to $350, is what their kind of filing says. So you can kind of say it's kind of aligned. A large part of the stock option is aligned to performance of the stock price. Like if the stock price doesn't perform over the next 5 6 years, then these options will not be exercisable as far as their filings say. And so stock options form roughly 75% of their total stock based comp expense, and then the other 25% is RSUs, which is RSUs and then PSUs. I think a mix of it. So basically, 25% of another, of the total stock-based comp. The other portion, which is 25% RSUs, they are generally time vested, and PSUs are also performance vested. So these are the two components of their how they are compensating their employees. And another thing to note in 2022 and 2023 for the founder, so this basically the founder is Oren Holtzman and his sister, which I think owns a lesser portion in the cap table, and they were paid between 3.5% 4% of the revenue both in 2022 and 2023 for hitting targets which they say related to spoiled child. Now, they may be revenue targets, EBITDA targets, something that they had decided internally. They were able to hit those targets, and the CEO and the sister were, they were given out this cash payout between 3.5% to 4% of the revenue. And so, just for context, spoiled child has grown in 2 years. So 2022 January or somewhere in 2022 they launched, I think January 2022, and then in the next 2 years it had crossed $100 million in cumulative revenue, right? So it grew reasonably quickly, so cumulative revenue over the 2 years was $100 million. So they were able to grow spoiled child at quite a fast clip. Now let's look at high level. What's the scale of their business? So they in the trailing 12 months they did revenue of roughly $600 million with a gross margin of 72%, which is quite healthy, and then an EBIT margin of 25%. Their asset turnover ratio, which is revenue divided by asset base, which is how much do they need to invest in their assets to actually start earning revenue, and then converting that to the bottom line. So how much do they need to invest in assets? So revenue divided by assets minus cash equivalents, that's what the number is. That's the asset turnover. That's 1.71, which is quite good, I would say. And the revenue per employee is 1.7 million, which is so the company overall is quite efficient, and they have very healthy margins, as you can see. How do they spend their money? So they don't break out exactly how much they spend in R&D, which I think they should, given how much they are spending in R&D. But anyways, within the sales and marketing and the advertising spend, they spend roughly 25% of their revenue, and in general and administrative, they spend 27.3%. So if you kind of the R&D most likely is covered under the general and administrative. I think that's how they break it out. So, but if you look at both, S&M and GMA expense, which comes to roughly 52%, right? And they have a 72% gross margin. So 72 minus 52 is roughly 20% EBIT margin. This is how the math kind of adds up. The stock-based compensation is 4.7% of the revenue, which is not low, but since this is an IPO where it's supposed to be high, generally it tends to be high in many companies. So we'll see how it kind of progresses from here. But yeah, 4.7% was in the last 12 months. And then they are able to convert most of their EBITDA into free cash flow. So it is 86% of the EBITDA gets converted to free cash flow. Their auditor is, a branch of Ernst& Young, and they don't have any fines imposed on them for SEC. This is just general housekeeping. They have a decent auditor who's looking at their records, who's looking at the cash flow flowing in and all their asset base. Somebody who's auditing them is reputable, and they don't have any foul play history so far. So that is it for now. I mean, I'm going to cover more details about their peers, a little bit more about their history, a little bit more about their, a number of other things in an upcoming video. If you if you enjoy these kind of videos, please do consider joining me on Discord, where I share a lot of research and notes, really getting deeper into, how does this company actually work? How are its finances working? And is it actually, a good investment idea? And is it, a kind of a company which can become a compounder over time? So you can join me on Discord. I'll put the link in the description, and then you can also follow me on X, and I'm already here on YT. So yeah, if you like the video, please hit the thumbs up, and I'll see you soon.